Since it's time, we will begin our first World Archery Asia webinar. So today's topic is about archery mental coaching, and Professor Youngsook Kim from World Archery Sports and Medical Science Committee member will deliver our webinar. So please give a big welcome in the chat for Professor Kim.
Okay, hello everyone. It's an honor for me to give a lecture today, and topic of today's lecture is anxiety and concentration. Before we move on to lecture, let me introduce about myself. I'm a senior researcher in Korea Institute of Sports Science since 2011. And my experience is, as he told me before, I'm a medical and sports science committee member in World Archery. And I have been supporting Korean national archery team since 2011. So I experienced numerous Olympics and Asian Games. And my research interest is performance enhancement for elite archers. So my job is supporting Korean national team athletes and doing researches. And today topic is content of today's lecture is archery and psychology, and secondly, I'm going to talk about anxiety and how to control anxiety. And finally, I'll talk about attention and concentration. Are you with me? Okay. So my first question is, why do athletes need mental coaching, mental training, sports psychology counseling? There are numerous psychological difficulties like anxiety, stress, frustration, irritation, losing self-confidence, and concentration. A lot of archers experience those kind of psychological difficulties. So we need to do the psychological conditioning and enhancing psychological strength to in order to performance enhancement. So in archery competition, we have these kind of adversities. Athletes experience those kind of adversities, like making mistakes, like 8 points, 7 points, or missing target, or tournament opponents, rivals. Some athletes always lose to some athletes, so they can be a rival. And then we have environment situation like wind. Sometimes target wind different, and the body wind from to the body is different. So it's hard to read the wind. And a lot of time in the competition, there is a game delay. So this kind of adversity situations, we have to coping. Elite athletes have coping strategies like cognitive restructuring and positive thinking and positive self-talk and routines. With these kind of coping strategies, using psychological skills, positive effect on performance in previous research result. And then I'd like to talk about peak performance. Peak performance, psychological characteristic during peak performance is, first one is a narrow focus of attention. Attention is really important, typically on one specific thought or action. And feeling that performance is automatic and effortless. And they don't think about the performance, just thoroughly, just flow shooting. So, and being immersed in the present, they don't think about the past or they don't think about the future. They stay in the present shooting. And feeling of control over emotion, thought, and arousal. We will talk about later about this emotion, anxiety. And feeling highly self-confidence. Self-confidence is really important psychological factor for performance, peak performance. And absence of fear and feeling physically and mentally relaxed. So summarizing those peak performance characteristics is physical and psychological relaxation and decreased anxiety and self-control and confidence, self-confidence and automatic performance and flow and enjoying game. Enjoying game is really important. You have to perceive game as a enjoyment, not threat. So mental coaching and sports psychology counseling is intervention of applying psychological skills training and counseling for athletes and even coaches nowadays and exercise participants in pursuit of performance enhancement and personal growth. So specifically, sports psychology counseling consists of these two parts. First one is psychological skills training focused on performance enhancement. And counseling is focused on personal growth because athlete coaches also they are individual persons, so they need to grow as a person. Psychological skills training focus on the psychological factors like motivation, anxiety, concentration, and self-confidence and self-efficacy. So we need to control those psychological factors to use, we use those kind of psychological methods like relaxation, meditation, imagery, routine, self-talk, and goal setting. And as a person, we have so many difficulties as a person, like athletic identity, social conflict, the relationship problem issues, and sexual issues, eating disorders, and alcohol, drug problems. So with counseling, we try to solve those difficulties. Like we use this kind of method: listening, reflection, confrontation, attending, and principle is empathy and genuineness and confidentiality and positive regard. So in previous research in Korea, elite archers have those kind of characteristics like confident shooting and inner focus. We're going to talk about attention and concentration today, right? And maintaining optimal arousal level. This is the first topic we're going to talk about later. And positive thought and attitude is really important. These four things is important. And head coach Moon Hyung-sik said, sorry, Moon Hyung-chul said, victory in archery depends on shooting the arrow accurately by concentrating in a stable posture without physical disturbance. So let's move on to anxiety control. I'm going to talk about the emotion first. Have you watched this movie, Inside Out 1 and 2? And last year, the Inside Out 2 came out, so I watched this movie in the airplane during airplane flight, and I was very interested about this movie because they talking about lots of emotion, various emotions, and joy and sadness and disgust and anxiety, anger, embarrassment. There are lots of emotions athletes perceive. So we need to know about what my athletes having these kind of emotions, and today's topic related with anxiety. So anxiety is big issues for competitions. So we need to understand those kind of emotions and what my athletes having, what kind of emotions. We need to know about what is emotion. Emotion is a reflexive reaction to certain situations that cause physiological, experiential, and behavioral changes. For example, fear is a reaction to threat. So in the emotion, we have to focus on the anxiety. What is anxiety and what is arousal? We need to understand the difference between arousal and anxiety. First, arousal is not the negative concept. This is positive concept. So arousal is a general physical and psychological activation ranging from deep sleep to extreme excitement. I mean, it is level of continuum. This is continuum from deep sleep to the extreme excitement. So we need to find out what is my optimal arousal level for peak performance. But anxiety is a negative concept, a negative emotional state characterized by nervousness, worry, and apprehension related to physiological arousal. So anxiety is the negative concept. And there's different anxiety, two different anxiety. We need to understand that threat anxiety is a person's tendency to perceive situations as threatening, regardless of actual threat level. So we have that kind of tendency when we are born. So it's hard to change trait. It's hard to change. But state anxiety is a temporary emotional state that varies depending on the situation. Someone asked a question about some archers doing best in the practice, but when it comes to scoring, they were scared. That's the state anxiety. In the training, they don't have any, their state anxiety level is low, but in the competition, their state anxiety level going up. So you understand the difference between trait anxiety and state anxiety, right? Okay. But in state anxiety, there is two kind of anxiety. So we have to know it's a cognitive or somatic. Cognitive is thinking. So cognitive state anxiety is worry or negative thought that vary by situation. So it's the worry and negative, it's inside your head. But somatic state anxiety is the physical arousal that varies by situation. And stress, we always think about stress. I'm getting stressed. We have those kind of expression, but stress is the different with anxiety. The stress concept of stress is different. And stress is a reaction that appears when facing situation that induce anxiety. The cause of anxiety is the stress. Okay. So let me show you the figures that what is anxiety? There's trait anxiety, that's the disposition and tendencies, and they don't change much. Yeah. But state anxieties, we need to know about arousal and state anxiety. There is a cognitive state anxiety and somatic state anxiety. I explained about before, but there's new concept here. Perceived control state anxiety, the degree to which one has the resources and ability to meet challenges. So athletes perceive this state anxiety, they know they can control this state anxiety. It's really important. Even though they feel they anxious about competition, but they feel I have ability to control those anxiety. That's a really important point. So they have to know how to control their state anxiety. And stress is those kind of 4 steps. Stress is situation or condition that trigger anxiety. So that's the kind of cause of anxiety and responses that follows. So stage 1 is environmental demand, kind of someone pressure from the significant others that like coaches or parents to always saying you have to win this competition, you have to win gold medals, that kinds of environment demand. And then step 2, stage 2, an individual perception of environment demand, amount of psychological or physical threat perceived. So athletes, how they perceive those kind of environment demand. If they perceive that kind of demand, like, oh, I can do it, I can do this competition, there's no problem. But if they get pressure from those kind of demand, the stress response coming out, like stage 3, arousal, state anxiety, muscle tension, and attention changes. And then stage 4, behavioral consequences, performance, and it influence on the outcome. Let's move on to the symptoms of competitive anxiety. There is a symptoms there. So brain waves change, muscle tone changes, skin conductance changes, and increased blood pressure, and increased heart rate, and increased sweating. And we should know what my athletes have those kind of symptoms. And even if you are athletes, archers, you need to know what kind of symptoms when I have physical competitive anxiety. Behavioral symptoms, dry mouth, your palpitations and muscle tension, frequent need for restroom, and blank mind. They don't have any mind. They think I don't remember anything what I did before a competition like that. And detailed behavioral symptoms like frequent yawning, difficulty focusing, and tight abdomen, flying butterflies in your abdomen and stomach, frequent bathroom trips and numbness, tinglings. Those kind of symptoms are the detailed behavioral symptoms. So these kind of symptoms, you have to know the situation. Between in the training, they don't have that kind of behavioral symptoms. You cannot find those kind of symptoms, but before competition, during the warm-up or 30 minutes before competition, 10 minutes before competition, what kind of symptoms you're showing and your athletes showing, you need to know about that. Now we need to talk about cause of competitive anxiety, because we need to know what's the reason of competitive anxiety. Individual archers having different cause of competitive anxieties. But common causes of competitive anxiety are personality trait anxiety is high level, or fear of failure, excessive desire to win. These three things are most important causes of competitive anxieties, like lack of self-confidence, uncertainty of outcome. Think about yourself or think about your athlete. There are fear of failures, desire to win, and lack of self-confidence. That's the cause of competitive anxiety. And more causes: fear of injury, environmental factors, stadium climate, wind, lightning. The competition is held in night session. Social environment, audience, big audience, opponents, referees, teammates, officials, coaches, external expectations. Arousal, and there is a relationship between arousal and attention. As you can see in these figures, arousal affects attention. According to by Eastbrook and Needford, they're scholars, and they're saying when they have optimal arousal, the attention they have optimal attention field, like first figure like this one. They can focus on the things they need to for performance. But when they have low arousal, attention getting wide, like these second pictures. So they focus on a lot of things they don't need to for performance. But they have their arousal level is too high, the attention is getting narrow, so they cannot see, they cannot focus on the things they need to for performance. So it's really important that arousal and attention and concentration is related. You need to understand these things. Then how to measure anxiety? There is a questionnaire, 2 questionnaires can measure anxiety. I'm using those kind of questionnaire a lot. First one is it can measure trait anxiety I was talking about before. So they have questions and they have fake question too. So you can use those kind of things to measure trait anxiety, trait competitive anxiety. And I use also this kind of this questionnaire, competitive state anxiety inventory tool. It measures competitive state anxiety, and the sub-factors of state anxiety in this questionnaire, they can measure 3 factors like cognitive state anxiety and somatic cognitive anxiety and state self-confidence. So you can use those kind of things here, but you have to know about the, you need to understand, before you use those kind of questionnaire, you need to understand the main sub-factors. And we can also measure we can use physiological measure like heart rate. We often use heart rate and respiration, skin conductance, and catecholamines. And other physical and biochemical markers can indicate changes related to anxiety. And physiological indices for anxiety is EEG, EKG, EMG, a lot of pupil dilation, and heart rate, blood pressure. Now, this is a key point, anxiety, how to control anxiety, your arousal level. There's two kind of methods. First one is biological, physical methods, biofeedback. You use Pola or these kind of smartphone, so you can measure your heart rate, biofeedback, and progressive relaxation is the very old method, and breathing control. So you can control your anxiety or arousal by physical method, or you can use cognitive methods like cognitive restructuring. This is the method that you can change your negative thought to positive thinking. And so you're thinking about so many negative things, like worrying about competition and winning and those kind of things that doesn't help to your shooting, but that you can stop your thinking, like thinking about red symbol like that. So, and using keywords, and I'll talk about later about routines, so you can understand those kind of routines later in this lecture. You can use imagery, thinking about successive shooting. And I use a lot these kind of methods like biofeedback technique. They use monitoring devices to control the autonomic nervous system, like using heart rate system. So when you're training, your heart rate is like 70 or 80 level, but in the competition, your heart rate going up like over 100. So when that time, you need to use your breathing or your routine or self-talk, so you can control you can level down your anxiety level. And progressive relaxation is really old technique. So reduces oxygen consumption and heart rate, breathing rate. It's kind of your body, your muscle tension, make it tense and then release, like kind of things. So that's old technique. I use a lot of breathing techniques to archers and shooters, and breathing is really effective in reducing anxiety and increasing oxygen in the blood, and so enhancing the performance. And so deep breathing is really using a lot of archers use those kind of breathing, and 1-to-2 ratio breathing is breathing in 1 and breathing out 2. Like you have to breathe out longer. And focused breathing and 7-4-7-8 method is used by shooters, Navy SEAL, to lower their anxiety level. And then also, you can use imagery and mental experience involving senses. You have to use your all senses and helping with learning, cognition, perception. So you can think about your shooting, successive shooting, and before you go to the bed. So it helps you, but you have to use all your senses when you image your shooting. So key point in control your arousal or anxiety level is the first one is self-awareness. So you need to know what your symptoms, what you need to aware of your level of anxiety, but you have to notice that my anxiety level is high or low, too low. You need to control now. What is my current state? As you can see in this picture, Kim Woo-jin, archer Kim Woo-jin, showing that 78 heart rate in the competition is kind of low, and it's really similar to training situation. So if it's too high, you have to low down. If your arousal level is too low, you have to go make it up, level up. So find your optimal arousal level. So you can use monitor your heart rate. So when your heart rate is 90 or 95, you shooting well, or your performance is good. So you have to, in competition, you have to lower down your heart rate. Okay. So I was talking about anxiety and how to control anxiety and arousal level. And let's move on to the concentration. Okay, time is, yeah, it passed 25 minutes. So yeah, okay, we have plenty of time. Let me talk about concentration. And before we talk about concentration, we need to know the definition of attention and concentration. Attention and concentration is a different concept. And attention is the process of filtering environmental information through sensory organs. So attention is the ability to select a target of interest. If I'm going to attention to target or attention to the wind, you have to have that ability to select a target of interest. It's dynamic in the nature. But concentration is the ability to maintain optimal attention. It's static in nature. So being entirely attentive allows for concentration. Refocusing. After making mistakes, you have to refocus on your shooting. Refocusing is really important in archery, and refocusing is the act of redirecting this person's attention to the specific target or content. So when attention and concentration are well coordinated, it is referred to as having good concentration. So you have to know attention and concentration. And definition of attention is mental effort to focus on the task. And three components of attention is selectivity and divisibility and alertness. And nowadays they have four types of attention. Sustained attention is to focus on the task for an extended period without getting distracted. And the second is selective attention, focus on a particular stimulus while ignoring other distracting stimuli. And divided attention is multitasking. And alternating attention is the ability to switch between two or more tasks rapidly. So selectivity is concentration and shifting attention. As you can see in this picture, the Korean archer doesn't get disrupted by B. So he focuses on his target and he's shooting. So this is a selectivity. He doesn't concentrate on the B. So the ability to focus mental effort on specific object and then shift that focus to another object is selectivity. And divided attention, as I told you before, is multitasking, overcoming the ability to efficiently divide attention to handle more than two tasks simultaneously. So note-taking during a lecture, dividing and driving and listening to the radio or talking is the divided attention. Alertness, I have told you before, ability to maintain readiness and respond to the more critical moments. So you need, I know you understand those attention and concentration and refocusing. So there are many disruptors of concentration. Sometimes it's external or sometimes internal. So as you can see in this picture, audience noise. Last year, Paris Olympics, there are so many audiences especially French audience was so noisy. So we need to experience those kind of noise before Asian game or big events, and audience noise and movement in peripheral vision and verbal provocation from opponents or coach or parent leaving the seat. That can be external disruptions. And inside, in their mind, there is internal disruptions. Archers and archers can thinking about past mistakes, worry about the importance of upcoming plays like future, thinking on future, and anger toward the unfair left wing, and concerns about an injury effect on performance, and overall analysis of past performance. I have met lots of archers that thinking about too much, analyzing too much about their past shooting. They have to prepare present shooting, right? So for concentration, we need to use those kind of mental plan. I use a lot about routines. So routine is habitual movement during actions like shooting or performance. Athletes use unique performance routines to feel grounded before performance. It helps manage anxiety and increase focus. So routine can reduce anxiety and increase concentration. There's performance plan. You have to use meaningful thinking, thought, and self-talk or image and cues to guide your actions. Choose visual that help you perform with focus and precision. And prepare both pre-competition and post-competition plan. But I think pre-competition plan is more important for performance that help them to competition perform better. So use personal keyword system and use your action, thought, and feeling design to improve performance under pressure. When you get under pressure to win or there have some adversities in competition, you have to use your keyword routines to refocus on shooting and control your anxiety. So break down the actions into step-by-step components. Even in practice, strictly follow the mental plan. So you have to train a lot in psychological skills in training. Like at least 3 months and 6 months, then you can use those kind of psychological skills like mental plan you can use in competition. So pre-performance mental routine is focused on warm-up routines and includes key focus point immediately before performance. It kind of strengthens three kind of strengths and boost confidence before preparation, and you feel I'm pretty prepared for competition, and prevents negative thought or blame, and you can create optimal condition and mindset for performance. Mental plan during competition is focus point, refocus point. You have to put those kind of focus point during competition. Plans when, where, how to focus on the effective execution. The shooting. Uses movement visual to support attention and coordination. So let me show the example. This is not an Archer Ansan's actual routines. I'm just making an examples like cognitive routines. I'm the best and let's enjoy this moment. It's not there's no pressure here. So right, enjoy this competition. And technical routine, they have all archers, individual archers have a certain their technical point. So put it in the routine here. So grip the left arm, shoot it long, and behavior routine, deep breathing or routine breathing their routines. So pre-performance mental routine have to have preparation routines, like when they stretching or warm up, they have those kind of making routines. And just before performance, what kind of routine they going to make. And in pre-performance mental plan, it consists of required thinking, thought, and self-talk, positive self-talk, and required movement, images, and visualization. So you can make these kind of routines, and routines need to be simple. Simple routine is better than complex routine. So make it like 3 or 4 in the routines. So let's create a mental plan, pre-performance mental plan, the day before the competition, and 1 hour before the competition, and 30 minutes before the competition. Make the mental plan for each situation. Required thinking and self-talk, and required action like cue point. And during performance mental plan is during break time, during moments of adversity in the competition. So you can make those kind of mental plan by situation. So this is how to increase your concentration. This is the method of increasing your concentration. So 빨리 끝난대요. So this is all I have prepared today. So make it little short. So okay. This is, yeah.
So thank you, Professor Kim, for the lecture. I think there was a lot of theoretical session, but also very practical session at the end. So which you can also follow at your home with your archer or with your coach. So during the participation survey, we also got some questions from you. So Professor Kim will go through some of the questions and then answer for your question.
Okay. I believe that, okay. I have so many questions about target panic. Yeah, it's really hard to, if your archers get target panic, it's really hard to overcome. So for the target panic, I'd like to recommend you to find the regional target panic. It can be social issues, or it can be mental issues, or it can be physical issues. So if social issues, I said that before, significant others like my family or coaches or my friends have pressure on me to winning, so they can feel that pressure. They can be cause of target panic. So they have to change their perception about those pressure to positive thing. And mental issues, you can change their negative thinking to the positive thinking. And physical issues, they can be related to muscle contraction, or they can be related to brain activities. We need to know about the reason first, and then talk about and counseling these archers to change their mind to the positive thinking. And they a lot of archers thinking about the mistakes more than successive shooting. So I recommend that you have to thinking more about successive shooting than making mistakes. So you have to think about positively about your shooting. That's my recommendation about target panic. And if you have more questions, you can email me on this email address about target panic. And there is a question about in sports psychology applications, there are significant difference between youth athletes and adult and national team. Yeah, there is difference between that. If you teach youth athletes, youth archers, I recommend that you have to more focus on the motivation on the youth athletes. So you have to use lots of goal setting, and you can use mandala art to make a goal setting. The Otani, you know that baseball player Otani used mandala art goal setting a lot. So I recommend the motivation, focus on the motivation for youth athletes. They can so they can continue to play archery. So I hope that answered your question. And then, is there any food that affect mental health? I'm recommend that just if that's comforting your stomach, that makes your mental comfort. Not, I don't recommend spicy food or not milk or things. Just make your stomach comforting, just like bananas kind of things. And if there is another chance that I can give a lecture, I'll talk about the motivation and how to goal setting for the archers later. If I can have a chance to have more art lecture. And stress and anxiety, I talked about that, and how to build a mental training program for elite level and what it should consist of, skills or drill. I talked about that the significant psychological factor like motivation, self-confidence, anxiety, arousal control, and concentration. I think there concentration and anxiety, arousal level control, and self-confidence is the key significant psychological factor we need to focus on for archers. And various psychological skills, kind of goal setting, self-talk, and routines can be used to control those kind of psychological factors. So it has to be, training program has to be at least continue at least 3 months or 6 months. If it need to be if you have to be at least 6 months to have mental training to effective. Archers shoot well in national competition and won, but international competition performance goes down and couldn't manage pressure of atmosphere, how to manage and how much this takes time to athlete. What should we do if it is related to muscle function? Mental training has already been given to the athlete, but the issue still persists. What decision can be yes, hard question. And I told you before, we can control their arousal level. So find your optimal, find it, that archer's optimal arousal level first, and then use those kind of methods like relaxation techniques and meditation also help to control arousal. So find out what make him feel anxious in the international competition. You have to find the reason first and then talk about it and then try to solve the problem with the archers. And we can use lots of methods today. I talk about the methods to control anxiety, and I talk about the routine. So I recommend routine. You put it in the relaxation technique in your routines. How to group players during mental training program? I use a lot of group cohesion program for Korean national archers for team matches. So if you find out the researches about me, you can find out what kind of program contents in there. So I recommend you find my researches.
So today, thank you for your participation, and thank you, Professor Kim, for participating in this webinar. So World Archery Asia will try to organize a webinar again with different topic that you might be interested in. So we have a survey, participant survey. So please answer your questions, and so we can find out about the next interested topics that you would like to know. So please answer your participant surveys, and then there are some questions. If you have some questions, please feel free to email Professor Kim, so he can answer with some like finding the reasons and then motivations and about how to think about success. So thank you so much for participating today, and hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
I hope that it helps you your archery performance. Thank you.
Thank you.